Hello! If you're currently here, then you have survived the last video and you do not want to kill me, which is great. If you have not seen the last video, then perhaps go and watch the last video first and then come back here. This is how The Sims 4 failed. Me in particular. Part 5, the last part. Things that fell into this category, there's very few things, are things that they had to do mostly probably because of the engine that they selected. I do not know the reasons why they selected the engine that they did. Probably because it maybe was an experimental technology, nobody was using it, EA had to justify having it, maybe it was the easiest one to work with. Either way, I believe that the engine choice was really bad. Alternatively, it could be that they're just really lazy, but I'd rather give them benefit of a doubt and not think that. So here's 3 things that fall into the category of limitations. 1. Their game engine is actually fairly unstable. I'm one of those people that suffer simulation lag, and while I do not have my old save because I had to discard my several hundred-hour save, it became unplayable, I started playing a new one. This is Generation 2 of 100 Baby Challenge. Unfortunately, having kids really wears down your save. Even more food for thought about how could this have released as a live simulation game. So, we're about 17 children in. Well, I'm already experiencing the time issues again, where you fast forward, the clock kind of spins in place, their motifs lag behind, they're doing pauses in between their animations, and over time that expands and becomes worse and worse and worse until you can no longer use your save file, which is something I have not actually encountered in other Sims games. I have broken a few save files in The Sims 3. The last time I broke a save file was by having 50 children, and weird stuff started happening, such as people swimming in the floor, and weird amounts of cats and dogs being distributed to different families, some people popping out of existence. I could actually still reset it by moving into a different town, because that practically discards everything that you did. Instability was already there. The Sims 3 is not a very stable game. If you ever played Island Paradise, then you know that you have to install mods to even get all of the routing issues out of the way. But The Sims 4 somehow managed to get that thing so much worse. Like, so much worse. And their main advertisement was, hey, we're downsizing, but we're stable. Well, sorry, you're not. And I'm not the best person at specs. I have what is considered a mid-range. It's not top of the line best stuff ever, but I actually bought Vampire and I bought Jurassic World Evolution that's upcoming, and I can play those games. And I can run games from 2018, I can run games from 2017. I can play new arrival games. Sometimes I have to put them to medium-high settings instead of the best. I can even play Ark on the system. I do not know why The Sims 4 in particular would completely and utterly fail on it, except that their engine is booby. It's yucky and ugh. And I'm not the only one having these issues. Some people can run the game perfectly fine. That will be true for some. Others will be experiencing simulation lag. Some people are experiencing true lag, where your frame rate lags, and they're perfectly fine on other games. So it's kind of an interesting toss a coin whether or not this game will run well for you, which in my opinion, if you're discarding so many things, should not be the case. So let's move on, shall we? Changes between a teenager, adult, and senior both appearance and personality wise, is very minimal. Here are gonna be two pictures. One is of a person growing up in The Sims 4, and the other one is in Sims 2 advertisement. It's just such a step back. I know that some people found Sims 2 life stages to be limiting because they were specifically forced into some actions and not the others, but to me that made them unique. Like, as a teen, I did not do the exact same things as an adult, and I hit my maximum height pretty fast because I had to have a back surgery, so my height didn't change since I was 12, but I went from looking like a complete child to an adult woman, and even when I was 17, 18, my proportions and my width was completely different than what it is right now at 24. People change, and it's not just the subtle changes in the face like The Sims 4 made it. Like, yeah, teenagers were made like a little linear, but you cannot tell what is a teenager and what is an adult, and that's just not right. Even if you were like, oh, some people age like this in real life, and fair enough, but this is a game and it's a pretty distinct life stage, so you would think that you should be able to tell these apart, even just for the game's sake, if not anything else, even though I swear I didn't look like this when I was 16. And the last one, which is actually might be a reason why so many different life stages are so alike. Very little physical interaction, and the interaction that there is, you can see how hard they tried to make it look properly. Like, this is my sim playing with their toddler. You can see that whenever a transition happens, it's just some magic fairy dust, and the toddler pops back up at front. Magic fairy dust, and the toddler back is on the back again, and magic fairy dust. It's because they cannot actually animate it properly. They're having a lot of difficulties with animation, and if you look in the game close enough, you're gonna see it everywhere. For example, here is a dog picking up a ball. The dog turns away from the ball, and the ball flies into the dog's mouth. Yeah, and I don't actually remember things like that happening in The Sims 2. I remember people even being able to step over things, and that feels so advanced after you're coming out of The Sims 4, after you're used to just hearing limitations all the time, and that is wrong. That is a 14-year-old game now, and apparently you could make animations work. So what happened? Was it the body morph? If it was the body morph, how did you body morph The Sims 3 and still make it work? Is it because ultra fat and ultra skinny is not as much body morph as, you know, different shoulder width and so on, and different hip size proportions? In which case, I know that some people wouldn't sacrifice it for it, but I would sacrifice hip size, shoulder width, and all of those really funny random things that you can resize in order to just have A, proper physical interactions between Sims back, B, proper heights and personality differences to Sims depending on their age back, and C, interactions between differently aged Sims. Did you notice that children can't really interact physically with toddlers that much? Well, probably was way too hard. So yeah, so that's shitty. That concludes my last part of how The Sims 4 failed me, and I've received some very interesting comments. A lot of them saying that I'm beating a dead horse, and it just shows you how awful of a stage we are as a fan base when this is beating a dead horse. This is an exhausted topic. It's that bad. And honestly, I didn't even want to make videos on it because even to me, it's an exhausted topic. I'm sick of complaining, so I just walked away. And a lot of people just walked away and are just now watching EA for popcorn's sake. And that is sad. It is really, really sad that it got to this point, and I'm not too sure that we're gonna climb back out again. So on that depressing note, thank you for watching. If you want me to do any other videos on life simulation games and you have suggestions as to what kind of videos and why and so on, then please leave that in the comments. I will most definitely acknowledge them. I do not mind doing these, even though these are time consuming, but I like talking, so it was fun talking with you guys. And hopefully see you in my other videos, because other than this, schedule's back to normal. See ya!